The Ignition Exchange contains many assets that can be built and used inside Ignition. It's for a multitude of industries, really. The Ignition Exchange was developed to help Ignition users quickly start and efficiently complete their Ignition development projects, and this provides anyone developing with Ignition an incredible competitive edge. This is to help you provide, proof of concepts in a short amount of time as possible. If you're looking to maintain a competitive edge and get to market quickly, this is going to help you out with that. But now with a better understanding of what's at stake and what the Ignition Exchange is all about, let's actually show you what the Ignition Exchange can do. On our website, you can always just go to our homepage here, Inductive Automation. And right now, if you scroll through these banners, you can certainly see we're highlighting the Ignition Exchange. That's one way to navigate to it. But also up here in the top corner, this is something we recently added to our website. There's quick links to get to things like Inductive University, but also, first and foremost right there, a link to the Ignition Exchange. So we're going to navigate to this. This was released at our user conference this past year, so it's relatively new. But as we go through this, you can see there's all different kinds of resources that you can come and experience. So because this is driven by the community, there are things that are for Ignition specifically, meaning that they're going to help you with industrial projects. But also, people upload things like a toddler distractor. It's a little app for your kids to play with on your phone. So there's all kinds of things on here. It really is a wide open community. But to talk about how to use this page a little bit, I wanted to highlight that, first of all, you can certainly sort by, just what are the new resources, what are popular, what are recently updated. You can, of course, come in and search for specific resources. And then, of course, I can come in. Right now, I'm just browsing all resources. I could also come in and click just for my resources that I've personally uploaded. I could come down and see any resources that are shared within my organization. So for me, I can see all the ones that have been uploaded by employees at Inductive Automation. For you, maybe your whole integration team wants to start uploading resources and they're not shared publicly, they're just shared for your team. You could click on my organization, see all those resources, be able to grab those and load them to projects from wherever you were at. That's just all free hosting provided by us. You can also, if you find resources that are interesting to you or resources you put into your projects, you might want to watch them to see if new versions come out. You want to click on just the ones that you've downloaded in the past. You can filter by any of those categories there. But continuing down here, I can see all the different employees at Inductive Automation who are contributing to the exchange, and I could filter just to see their resources. I could come to categories and just see, specifically I'm interested in what's there for alarming, for example, and I could filter by that. Another thing is maybe I wanted to just look for sample reports, or maybe I wanted to just find vision windows because I'm not using perspective yet, or I just want entire projects I can download. You can certainly filter that way. And another nice thing is when people upload these resources, they are going to designate a version that it's compatible with. And so you can certainly filter by your Ignition version as well, make sure anything you download is going to be usable for you. And then, of course, I can only see public resources or just my own private resources or resources shared with my organization. But with that all being said, there are a couple resources that I really want to highlight today and show you. As we go through this, I'm actually going to not just show you them here inside the Ignition Exchange website, but in addition, we're going to download them, we're going to load them into Ignition and show you how that all works. Let's go ahead and first of all, show you the ad hoc trend chart. As I had mentioned before, a big piece of Cloud Templates was that Vision ad hoc trend chart. There is a perspective ad hoc trend chart that has been uploaded. And so let's go ahead and take a look at that. You can see here some screenshots of what it's going to look like. I can see a description of what it does. And I can come to installation. This one's really simple to install. So the installation instructions are very basic. But for more complex resources, you might see a long list of installation instructions. And then, of course, there's some auto-generated ones by us that we auto-detect when somebody uploads it. What type of resource is this? And we give some additional instructions for those who may not be familiar with Ignition yet. With that all being said, the last thing on here is we have versions. you can see that, you know, it was initially released in September, you know, and as it was reviewed, it was updated a couple different ways. And so you could come and download a specific version, you know, so maybe someday this will be upgraded for 808 or some other new future version of Ignition, has new features. You could come and grab that latest version, or if you were still running on 805, you could come grab one of these previous versions, all that kind of stuff. But certainly, you know, you can come just download these, and that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go ahead and download this ad hoc trend chart. And so you can see it just downloaded a zip right there for me. And let's show you how you'd actually bring that into Ignition. So I have Ignition installed, just running in the trial mode right here. I installed this last night. There's not much on this gateway right now, but I'll show you what I did. No smoke and mirrors here, you know, but I have a database connected, MySQL, and I've connected up to 2 simulators. I just have, you know, our generic sim and our dairy demo sim. These could be live PLCs, doesn't really matter. I created some tags in the system and set up some alarms and some history on those tags. But as far as projects on my gateway, no projects. So we're starting from scratch as far as visualization and all that's concerned. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and launch the Ignition Designer to get started here. So we're going to go ahead and use the Designer launcher. And with that, I connect up to my localhost gateway there. And as this starts up, I sign in. And like we said, there are no projects. I'm going to create a new project here. And we'll call this Exchange Demo. For my title, I'll go ahead and add a space there. My default database will be that MySQL database we connected to. I'll go ahead and choose a project template, just the perspective menu nav, to get me some screens to get started. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and create this new project. We'll go ahead and launch this base project to show you. We're going to go ahead and launch this first. So if I just hit save and I come into launch perspective, launch this session, I just wanted to show you what, you know, just by default, there's some basic screens that come in with that template that we had chosen, that perspective menu nav. It just gives me a home screen, nothing really there. It has a chart that's not actually hooked up to any history, and it has our alarm table. Like I said, I configured some tags with some history and alarms, and so I can just see some of those alarms in my system right there.
Can I interject a question here, Kent?
Absolutely.
Since someone asked it, we might as well just there was a question when you were showing things around. Is there backwards compatibility for the versions?
Yes. So if like this one's 805, right now I have Ignition 807 installed, and I'm going to be uploading those resources, and it works just fine. So you don't have to specifically be running exactly the version. It's that version or newer.
Okay. Appreciate it. Back to you.
Great. Thank you. So, you know, this is just very basic. I've just created a skeleton project here. But let's go ahead and show you how to actually import resources from the Exchange. And so, as you remember, we had gone ahead and downloaded this ad hoc trend chart. How do I actually put that into my project? Well, what you can do, we've actually tried to make it really easy for you. And so if I come back to my gateway here, I can come and we've added this new menu item here under System that's called Ignition Exchange. And that can link me to the Ignition Exchange website, but also it is an import tool. And so I can go ahead and just pull out of my downloads folder that zip file that we had downloaded, drag it in here. It auto understands the format. It sees the README, tells me about it. And I'm going to go ahead and click next. It says which project you want to put this in. We're going to go ahead and put it in our Exchange demo project and go ahead and say import. And with that, it says it successfully imported the project or the package. And so now if I come back to the designer, I'm going to go ahead and refresh it from the gateway. And with that, if I come into perspective, go into views, I can now see that it added this ad hoc trends view. And let's go ahead and add that into my project. So if I come to my charts page that just by default had a chart not actually connected to any history, and I just delete that chart. I can go ahead and now take my ad hoc trends, pull that on, and because it's in a flex container, I'm going to set grow to 1 to make it go full screen. And with that, I have an ad hoc trend chart added to my project. And if I wanted to test that out, I could go into preview mode, and I could grab any of my tags here, select it, click add tags, adds it to my chart. I could toggle between how much data am I showing here, add additional tags, maybe multiple tags here to my chart. You can see those all get added nicely for me there. It's on a small screen here, but I could certainly do other things like combine axes on these to a single axis, all that kind of stuff. So certainly this is an easy resource to just load into your projects, utilize quickly, no fuss there. So that's the first one I wanted to show you. But there are other types of resources as well. And so let's go back into the Ignition Exchange real quick. The next resource I want to download is, let's go ahead and grab a diagnostics dashboard. So I'm going to search right here for diagnostics. I'm going to go to this diagnostics dashboard and click download. And this is another easy one. We're going to come right in here. I'm going to import another file. I'm just going to drag that in here from my downloads page and load it into that same project. Say import, come back to the designer. And if I refresh this from the gateway again, then I can now see that it added inside views. We now have diagnostics, and we have this diagnostics page. If I just open that up, I'll show you what that looks like. Automatically, without me doing any configuration on this, it's grabbing a bunch of information from our system tags and from the gateway. So I can automatically see the computer that I'm doing this demo on is the same one we record Inductive University videos on. So you can see this is called Ignition IA University. I can see my time zone. I can see my gateway address. I can see the health of this system. So CPU usage, disk utilization, memory usage. I can see if it's set up with redundancy. If I had the gateway network configured, I could see other gateways I'm connected to. In the client, it'll show you information about the client you've launched it on, including if it's on a mobile device, you'll see accelerometer and Bluetooth and GPS information, all that kind of stuff. So you can just quickly add a diagnostics page, plug and play to your projects. Can be really powerful. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to chug through some additional resources here. So another one that's really cool that I wanted to show you, I come grab an alarm analysis screen. Oh, here it is. All right, alarm analysis dashboard. Go ahead and download this one as well. We'll go through the same process here where I import a package file and I just drag that in. And when I come back to the designer here, refresh from the gateway, I can see it added alarm analysis here. And within alarm analysis, there's an alarm analysis view. If I just open that up here, then you can see it gave me a screen automatically that's tied into my alarms on my system. And so, this ties in nicely with our existing alarm page that I added. It shows the real-time alarms. So if I go to that real quick, just to show the current alarms in the system, my alarms are, error here. There's one from site A, from a receiver, all that kind of stuff. So those are the alarms on my system here, just to show that those are the same alarms I'm seeing in here. I see that, most frequent is site A there, longest duration's error, but I can see, on my alarm summary, how many of these alarms took place, average time to clear, all that kind of stuff. And this is something that I can set a start date and end date to analyze alarms for a specific time period as well. So that's just another cool resource you can pull in, utilize in your projects automatically. And then let's do one more resource. And I want to kind of set the stage for this a little bit. This resource is going to be a little more involved to set up. This is one that Kevin McCluskey built for our user conference in September. and he showed it, and people got really excited about it. So I wanted to show it again today. But essentially, this is my home page. There's nothing on here right now. And if I wanted to start building out a screen, for example, I can see I've got some tags. Two of the tags I have are tank 1 level and tank 2 level. I'm going to go ahead and create a little screen here. So I'm just going to take that, pull it out, say I want to view that as a tank. And I'm going to grab tank 2, pull that out, also as a tank here. And for these resources, you can see that these tanks are pumping into each other. So kind of an inverse relationship there. So I could draw here maybe like a pump in between these. We'll go ahead and grab like this guy. And I could certainly add pipes in between these as well. As I'm looking at the clock, we're going to kind of rush this, so I'm not going to draw any pipes for you guys today. But pipes are certainly available inside that same graphics symbol factory right there. You can certainly come and grab individual pipes, start connecting these together however you wanted. But with this, I've just got 2 tanks connected to each other. And on those tank level tags, I'm storing history. And I'm showing the real-time values here. But wouldn't it be cool if I could do a historical playback function so that rather than just seeing the real-time state of these, and rather than just adding like a trend chart on these to show history, what if I could actually go back in time and have this play like what these values were doing yesterday or 5 minutes ago and show it as if it was a live HMI? That's what one of these resources in the Exchange gives you. So what I'm going to do is come back to the Exchange. We're going to search again, and I'm going to look for historical playback. Perspective historical playback. And I'm going to go ahead and download that one. And, you know, I've been kind of skimming through these installation instructions. I highly recommend that when you're actually loading these resources onto your projects, you do go and read these extensively, because sometimes they'll have tags they bring in, or they'll have images you need to bring in, or things like that. And some of those may be a manual process. And so you'll definitely want to look at the installation instructions. But I'm going to go ahead, import this package as well. Go to my downloads folder, grab historical playback. And I'm going to load that into my same Ignition demo project, say import, come back to the designer. And as I refresh that from the gateway, then I can go ahead and, let's see, you got to browse through. We're starting to get lots of views. You know, that's the rapid development power of using the Exchange. There's lots of stuff in this gateway now. But I'm just going to pull in this playback controller. And I'm going to put this, you know, it could just be, you know, a bottom docked window on my page. It could be whatever I want. But I want to use this to control what is happening in these tanks. And so to do that, if I click on the view here, the embedded view is what I should call it, I can go in and look at the properties. And this one's more complex than the other ones. It's got a bunch of properties defined on it, one of which is tags. And it's got some tag paths that are defined here. These are the ones that Kevin used in the build-a-thon. But instead, we want to bind it to whatever our tags that we're using on screen are. And so I'm going to go ahead and copy the tag path of my tank 1 level, paste that there, and then do the same thing with my tank 2 level. Going to copy my tag path, going to put that here as 1. And I'm just using the 2 tags, so I'll go ahead and delete that 3rd entry. But you could do this for all the tags on your HMI screen. Just put all the tag paths in there. And then rather than immediately starting to come in and start playing with this, what you're going to want to do is rather than having these tank components bound directly to the tags, you're going to want to bind the value of these to a property inside that playback controller. So I come in here, come into my embedded view, come to properties, parameters. I'm going to bind to the value of tank 1 level. And for this one, I'm going to bind to the value, sorry, property, come in here in my embedded view, gonna grab the value of my tank 2 level, say okay, and that's all you have to do. These now are going through the filter of this playback engine, and so if I hit preview here and I go to real time, then these are just going to update as if they were bound directly to the tag. And so I can see the liquid going from this tank 1 into tank 2, no problem. But if I wanted to see what this was doing in the past, I could go ahead and go into historical mode, and I could switch this to what it was doing at any given timestamp. This is showing me the past hour right now. And so I can also then play it back from that timestamp. And so now I'm watching as this liquid flows between the tanks. But another nice feature that's built into this is I could increase the speed of the playback. So now you can see the liquid is flowing faster between the tanks. I could even go up to ×4. Now you can see that liquid is flying between these tanks. And so I'm actually able to do historical playback now of my HMI screen very quickly, very easily. So that's a little bit about the exchange and showing you how to load resources directly into your project. You know, what were we able to do in just a little bit amount of time? We were able to, you know, from creating a new project, go ahead and, you know, create an HMI screen, do historical playback. We were able to not just have real-time alarms, but to do a full alarm analysis screen. And so, you know, we added that. We also were able to very quickly add a diagnostics page that you could add to a client, be able to use. And we're able to replace our boring chart with a full ad hoc trend chart, have that tied into tags, all very quickly. And so we've uploaded a lot of resources from inductive automation to the Exchange because we think it's valuable. We're just trying to make the customer's overall experience with Ignition better. Inductive automation will continue to upload resources, but the real power of the Exchange is the community. That people like you guys are uploading, you know, valuable resources, things that took a lot of development time so that just anybody can download them for free and use them. That's special. And you don't find that everywhere in the industry.